The truth I ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back, cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth you deserving that. This ain't no bluff. This is uncut. This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth I ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back, cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth you deserving that. This ain't no bluff.
Hello, Turks and Caicos. Happy Saturday and welcome to Uncut. Just a quick shout out to Kels and Black Boy for the Uncut anthem. Thank you guys so much, and you both know it's all love always. So this evening we have with us Miss Nandina as well as Miss Laverne, both from Brainfood TCI. And Brainfood TCI is an initiative that was started to help to propel young persons, or not even young persons, just persons into the business world. And I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Nandina to give us a little bit background into that. And then we're going to hear from Ms. Laverne, who is the head of the Pathways Services.
Hi everyone, as you can see, my name is Nandina. So basically, we started Brainfood TCI at sort of like the beginning of last year. The idea actually came about just randomly. I was just thinking about from time to time, I would assist people with finding courses to come to the UK to study because I'm presently in the UK. And I realized that not everyone has someone to assist them with finding a course, finding housing, anything of the sort. And I just thought, well, maybe I should just create a blog where we could talk about careers, unorthodox careers that people know about, and teaching them how they can get what pathways you can take to get into the career, whether it's academic or technically or vocationally. And from there, it kind of spread into something different. We now offer career services as well as the blog. We update every month talking about different careers.
Okay, and Ms. You're the head of the Pathway Services, and just give us a brief detail of that, of what it consists of, how to get access to Brainfood, to get access to your Pathway Services.
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, Wandra. I am the head of Pathway Services, which basically means the different aspects of studying education that we cover in our blog. I spare up the efforts to help you to achieve your goal of accessing education, whether it be going to, we call them here in the States, which is where I am, we call them state colleges, or a university, or if you're trying to study via a technical route, I help you with any aspect of your application, writing a personal essay, figuring out and navigating all the information you need for your application, and financial services once you get to university or wherever your route is. And also on the career side, I help with cover letter writing, resume writing. If you need a revamp of those documents, I can help you with that. We're also branching out to offer consultations where for students in high school or whatever stage of education you are, if you just actually want help in navigating what you want to do, we're here to provide those services and consultations to have that conversation with you to help you narrow in on what your actual niche and passion is that you have.
I think that this service was truly needed, especially here in Turks, because there's a lot of people who don't know how to write a resume. There are a lot of persons who are graduating from high school and they're entering the work world and they need a resume, or they want to start school, but they don't know what they want to study or they don't know where to begin. So this service is definitely needed. So let's dive a little bit into the stereotypes here in Turks and Caicos. Oftentimes we hear that Turks Islanders don't want to work or they're lazy. What motivation would you give to those who, whether it is they're hesitant to enter into the work environment or the school environment?
Well, is the question really talking about whether they should study or should they just work? Because I think that's the question that they should ask themselves, really. Is it something that you feel like you can be an entrepreneur? Do you feel like you can work for someone else? Or do you feel like you need some extra years to study and develop your skills in order to get into that? Because sometimes you may have a goal to become a doctor and you can't just go into that straight after school. So it's a matter of assessing what's best for you. Is school best for me? Is work best for me? Do I have those skills to get into that? And how can I get those skills? What way should I take it?
And I agree with that. I don't think that anyone is lazy. I always think there's a reason for something. It may be like a defense mechanism of you're showing this desire and this passion for something, but you just keep getting shut down and you kind of retreat, and it comes off as lazy. Like the path that is set for you, you don't want to go down it. So it just kind of shut down.
I think that's very true. And you said something, Nandina, that's very important. The fact that not everyone wants to be a business owner. Of course, in order for everything to work cohesively, some persons have to be employees and some persons have to be business owners. And that's just the world we live in. And I feel as if today in the society that we live in, we tend to ostracize and badmouth employees to the point where persons feel as if it's a must that they own a business. And for some persons, you just know yourself and you just know that you're not capable of running a business effectively. And it should be okay for you to walk down the path of being an employee without someone bad mouthing you. So we just want to know, how do you get in contact with Brainfood?
So you can get in contact with us literally on any social media platform that you can get in. So our main thing, we're all young people. We just want everyone to have access to us. So you can email us at brainfoodtci@gmail.com. Just send us an inquiry, or you can access us via our website, brainfoodtci.org, on the contact page or the services page. Or if you just don't want to get into all that, just go on Instagram while you're scrolling on there. Just give us a little browse at Brainfood TCI on all the social media platforms. Just send us a DM. We'll have a talk with you and try to figure out what's best for you to get into it.
Perfect. And I know that both of you are based in two different places. Nandina's in the UK and Laverne is in the US. Tell us a bit about your experiences being there, and we'll start with Laverne.
Yes, I am in the US. The point at which I moved to the US, I was in high school. So that experience in itself was a complete 180 for me, coming from small little schools in Turks and I went to private school majority of my life, and going to the States and going to a public school, I didn't have to wear a uniform, and that in itself just took me off the rails for some reason. So I think I coming here in high school, I had time to adjust to my environment. So my move to university wasn't really that impactful to me as it would be for someone who's coming straight from that environment in Turks to being like dumped right here. It might be a total, again, 180 for them. But it was still an adjustment for me based on the way in which I was brought up. And also just the structure of things in Turks, how like just a school schedule is or a home schedule is, and then just suddenly having a whole day to myself, you don't really know what to do with that. Yeah.
And Laverne, I'm sorry, Nandina, what was your experience like in the UK, adjusting to the new weather, to the new environment, to the new schooling system?
Well, when I came straight into sixth form. So I also had a few, like 2 years to adjust to what it was like. But I moved here with my sister, who's not that much older than I am. So it was kind of like a kind of like throwing myself into the water with independence. And it's not even like moving to the States where you frequently go to the States and you know what it's like. I came here not having a clue what to do. What the thing that threw me the most actually was the currency. So in my head, I know that a bottle of water might have been like $1 home, right? I come here and it's not the same. I can get this huge bottle of water for like 17p, which is like, I don't even know what the equivalent is, but it's just the pricing of things was kind of threw me, and having to budget on my own with the new currency and navigate getting to different places using Google Maps. And it was an interesting experience. But for me, I'm an adventurous person, so even though it was quite different, I enjoyed the experience. But I mean, by the time I finished with sixth form and I was like, okay, I'm adjusted to this place, I'm not going to leave. I went straight into university in the same city and ultimately regretted it because I never really got the experience as my peers who were from the city that they're from, going to sixth form and then going to a different city for university. I was kind of stuck in the same city where by the time I'm in finished my first year of uni, I'm thinking, well, I need to change the scenery. I need to be like my peers. So it's kind of a thing where you need to understand what suits you, what doesn't suit you, and try to get someone to help you to figure that out before you put yourself into the position.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it was a really good experience moving in.
I'm glad to hear that. So I see someone in the comments says that Google Maps will be your best friend moving to the UK. Fun fact, Google Maps actually also works here in Turks, but because the place is so small, everyone pretty much know where they're going. So there's pretty much no need for Google Maps. However, when I went off to school, I went to school in Barbados, which was the Caribbean. So adjusting for me was quite easy. And Google Maps was also my best friend in Barbados. A lot of the main landmarks were on Google Maps. Of course, if you wanted to go to less popular places, it was more difficult. However, living in a place that was very similar to the Caribbean, very similar to Turks and Caicos, the people were very similar to us. So they were very friendly, and it was easy to ask for directions in order to know where I was going. Just to shed a little bit light on the work world here in Turks and Caicos, how do you feel about persons having the need to be exposed, having the need to travel and see different things, even if you don't care to go to school?
I think that is extremely important for people, students, young children, anybody to be exposed to various careers. And also to know that even in those various careers or those out of their careers, you can still be successful. I think that's an issue that a lot of parents tend to have, is that they do want the best for their children. But they kind of see them only being able to be successful in certain boxes. Do I think that they need to necessarily leave home? That's up to them. And as Nandina said, what's best for them, because they may still need that home experience like you had when you were in Barbados. That's not leaving home per se. You still got a piece of home with you. You could go there, you could feel it. But you can also be exposed to different careers and opportunities just by having conversations with them. And not just having surface level conversations, but making sure that they're deeper level conversations. If a child or a student says that they're interested, for example, in a specific career, ask them what about that career actually interests them. Someone could say I'll speak from my own experience. I wanted to be a doctor and then I bumped that to a nurse, and no one really asked me what about it I liked and wanted to do about it. And I did one clinical shadow day and saw someone draw blood and was like, this is not for me. So literally just having a conversation of like, okay, you say you want to be a doctor. So does that mean you want to work in a hospital? Do you know that this is also a career that happens in a hospital? I think it's more of interactions that you have with people when you're abroad that expand your horizon and your thought and just what you think you can accomplish. But I think just how far you can go, those conversations can happen at home so quickly and easily.
I agree with everything Laverne has said, but it's one thing that plays on my mind all the time when I think about people not leaving home to see what life is like outside of the Turks. Turks and Caicos is not the entire universe. You have to leave and see what life is like outside, not that it's the life outside, but just to know what it's like, because on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't matter where you work, you might need to adapt to who you're speaking to, and taking your body and putting it to a different place and interacting with different people forces you to adapt the way you speak, the way you think, because at the end of the day, when you're communicating with someone, you need them to feel how you need them to feel based on what you said so that you can get the outcome that you need. If you can't adapt to speaking to someone who's different from who you usually speak to, you may not get the outcome. So speaking to people in different places might help you. You don't have to be there for ages, but just doing that. And as additionally, when you expose yourself to different stuff or different people or different careers, you might find little nuggets of stuff that you might like to get into. So even if you might be a doctor or a lawyer or something, if you expose yourself to something else, you might find a job opening for something that might merge those two things together, and you might be more equipped to handle it if you had exposed yourself to a wider career palette or skill palette.
I think that's so true. And what advice would you give to those persons who have outside of the career aspiration, outside of the box career aspirations, but we all know how close-minded living here and in Turks is? Like, what path would you advise them to take?
For someone who's going for an unorthodox career?
Yes.
Well, it really depends on their predicament at the time, their education, I guess, their skill set at the time. It would be different for each person, I think.
Right. Okay. So just to be clear, basically the advice that you give is tailored to every individual person based on your situation or your career path.
Yes.
Okay. And when it comes to preparing yourself for the work world here in Turks, what advice would you give to those persons, especially those persons who are just graduating high school?
You definitely have to, first and foremost, present yourself professionally. Again, when I moved here, I was in high school. So I don't know if it's a matter of just getting students across the stage or making sure that students are actually prepared for life after high school. That's actually something in my actual work that we are very big on. Like, life doesn't end when you graduate high school. It's the beginning. So you definitely have to present yourself as ready to enter. You need the tools that are vital to getting a job. So your resume, your CV, your cover letter. You need to know how to dress professionally. You need to, something as basic as knowing how to do a proper handshake is very important.
Right.
You need to have good interview skills, obviously, because, and I think another, aside from all of those things, is also don't really necessarily get like bummed out if one career or some, like, don't put all your eggs in a basket, one basket, basically. Because there are so many careers and opportunities for you that lie ahead, that one no, although it could be your first no, will feel like a tragedy. But it's an opportunity for someone else to say yes to you. And I think that's often where a lot of us kind of get, even as professionals, get caught up in our head as to like, this is what I really wanted, this is what I thought a passion of mine was, but that person or that organization, that employer, it may not be their time for them to have you, and someone else may be desperately in need of what you have to give.
Very true. So, of course, we live in a generation or a time where millennials as well as Generation Z live according to slogans YOLO and I'm living my best life. So we're about to get to those persons, especially when it comes to managing social media pages and feeling as if you're young, so you're invincible.
Someone's always watching you.
Yep.
It may not be a potential employer, although it can be. It may be a friend, it may be a cousin, it may be somebody who told their child, this is a great person, you should look up to them. Someone's watching you and what you say and do and post. Could be good, could be bad. Again, I mean, live your best. Your best life is your best life. It's not everyone else's best life. And I think, again, us millennials and Gen Zs think that there are certain aspects that other people, like celebrities and stuff, share that is their best life, that we think is the best life. So we kind of go after that and kind of try to fit that mold, and that may not be your best life. It's someone's best life. But again, boiling it down, someone is watching you. Potential employers, that's a tactic, and like checking in on you to be like, do we really want this person with us, representing us? They watching.
I think something that we should point out is that every person on this earth has a personal brand. So even if you don't have a business, your personality, your presence online is your personal brand. So, and also remembering that every person that you interact with is your network. So if you decide that you want to share what you want to share and you think, well, a particular person in the future might not like this, if, according to you, if it's best for you, you can create your socials in a way where, you curate a way where only people who you really trust, which you should not really go on alleged and do that, but private pages, private stories. I know how that goes sometimes, but yes, but you don't have to post everything that you do. You can live your best life without the world seeing it. And if it's for you, you don't need to share it. But yeah, though, just remember your network is important, whether it's your friends or your family or whatever else, and they can recommend you or ask someone to not take you on a position. So just remember that.
Very true. And just to add a sentiment to what you both said, especially living here in Turks and Caicos, we live in a very small and a very unforgiving society. We never forget what happened. It could be all 50 years from now. We never forget. So it's important that we are mindful of what we post, not only of what we post about ourselves, but even our friends, because living in the day of an age of technology, you don't know who's recording, you don't know who's taking pictures, you don't know who's doing what. So still be mindful of those around you, even though you yourself may be comfortable with the posting and living your life on the edge through social media. And as Laverne had said, someone else's best life isn't your best life necessarily. So living your best life doesn't have to entail buying the fanciest cars and posting all your body out. That does not necessarily mean that that is your best life, because that is what you do, even though that is someone else's best life. So both of you have valid points on that, and I think it's important that we as young people take these things into consideration and also think about the future, because a lot of times we live in the moment and we forget that there's a future ahead and that there's a tomorrow, and you'll have to answer for these things someday or another. So just a quick background in terms of unorthodox career paths. What are some of the unorthodox career paths that you've been exposed to living abroad? Therefore, we could shed a little bit light to those persons who may be seeking a new career path, or those persons who may be seeking to start a career.
Well, I think one of the more unorthodox things you could point out is if someone was a doctor and then they're now becoming some sort of influencer of doctor stuff. I don't know what to call it, like a medical influencer, and you get paid. You get paid. Let me tell you, you get paid to be an influencer. So on top of your doctor's salary, and on top, and now being a medical influencer, and I'm calling that term. Somebody trademark that for me. But you can make a big buck off that, and getting brand deals and all sorts of things. That's an unorthodox career path, but I mean that's just one thing that I can think off the top of my head.
Do you think that becoming an influencer will take off? Because of course we've seen a lot of influencers here. For instance, DJ Shakes is one of those. Jack Nasty is one of those. So a lot of persons have became influencers within the community. But do you think branding will now come hand in hand with that? And if so, what advice would you give to those persons who want to become an influencer?
I think influencers are already a thing. Like it's not becoming a thing. It is a thing, I think. And then if you want to become an influencer, I think one of the things that you should really think about, and this is something that you should think about for business as well. So whether it's business or just you selling yourself, because at the end of the day, as an influencer, you're the product. You should remember the same thing we talk about posting what you want people to see, but also remember you need to have a story. So why are you an influencer? Why would people want to be influenced by you? What do you really have to offer? Is it valid? Will it make a change on my life? Who is my target audience? All these sorts of things you should think about before becoming an influencer and just saying, today I want to be an influencer, girl, everybody can be following me. No, you got to actually have a background before you actually, pursue this kind of thing.
And just another question, how has COVID impacted both of you schooling? Are you still in regular schools? What are the conditions like in your relevant countries? I know that in the US it may be quite different because every state has different procedures. So just shed a little bit light into education and COVID right now as it stands where you are.
As you said, where I am, don't even get me started. Every state is different. I am in Florida, and you have seen all the memes of Florida. Florida is different from the rest of the US. In Florida, every county or district is also different. So, and in my actual professional life, I work with those in different counties, so trying to help them pivot from some of the programs that I work with them on a daily basis with. That's hard because I don't know how they're being structured in their districts, and in Florida's 67 districts, that's very hard to track and have those conversations with people. It's frustrating I think is what it basically boils down to. That's the education system, personally education wise, class of 2020. I don't have to deal with that. But it's frustrating because things change. So it feels like daily. I know it's probably like weekly or monthly, but how slow everything is moving, it feels like when things are changing, it's just like a whole tidal wave, because you kind of get settled into the new situation that we were put in, and then it's like, nope, we got to change, move it here. And not only do we have to adjust to that big situation change, but there are the little things as well that others have to adjust to. So like teachers who are now teaching online, who didn't have to do that before. It was a really big uproar actually in higher ed, actually across the nation, where there were a lot of professors who were doing in-person classes for like 15, 20 years, and then they all of a sudden had to learn how to navigate like the online class portals, and it took them weeks. So it's frustrating.
Kind of the same thing in the UK. So there's one thing I can say happened universally across the country for universities, well, most universities at least. There was this thing put in place called the no detriment policy. So because students would be affected immensely by not having access to resources at the university, some might not have laptops at home. Universities across the country implemented this no detriment policy. So based on the grades that you got from a certain amount of time up until quarantine or the spike of the pandemic, you would get a grade based on that. So however you perform based on that, your grade will be no less than that, provided that you passed all your assignments. At the same time, for A-level and GCSE students, it's not been that great. They've had a really horrible time. The government have allowed teachers to get predicted grades and created an algorithm that was very faulty to generate grades which were not reflective of what students had previously done. At the end of the day, they got the predicted grades. However, you can never get back that spike of anxiety, that sanity, the sanity that you lose from hearing that, well, you're predicted an A star, and now you got like a BCC, or you predicted AAA and you got like a UE something. It happened. I'm telling you, it happened. It's ridiculous. But yeah, at the end of the day, it worked out well. But children have emotions.
Yes. So just once again, fill us in on how to get in contact with Brainfood, and give us a brief background of your services for those persons who tuned in late.
Oh, so you can get in contact with us via our website at brainfoodtci.org, or you can email us at brainfoodtci@gmail.com. Or if it works best for you, if you're socially savvy, you can just contact us on social media at Brainfood We offer career and university service education services. So cover letter, CV writing, career advising sessions, university applications, and we offer bundles. So we have bundles called adulting bundles, secure the bag, different kind of things depending on what you need.
Thank you so much, Ms. Laverne and Ms. Nandina. And Turks and Caicos, I hope that you'll join me again next week, as we're going to dive into some very serious country issues. In the upcoming weeks, we're going to be talking about human rights. We're also going to be talking about immigration here in the Turks and Caicos. So tune back in, and I will see you next week, Saturday.
This is uncut. Can't get enough. The truth I ain't holding back. This ain't no bluff. You are deserving that. Sometimes it's rough. No, I ain't holding back. Cause this is uncut. This is uncut. This is uncut. No, I ain't holding back. Sometimes it's rough. This is uncut. This is uncut. The truth is deserving that. This ain't no bluff.